Mommispace, a place where you can remember who you are in the midst of it all. This podcast gives moms of all stages a voice to share their experiences and the truth that there is no right way to mom. Welcome back to Mommispace. This is Bree, and today I'm here with my good friend Kirsten Jackson. Kirsten, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes. Kirsten and I have known each other for quite a few years, and I actually, her husband was my youth pastor, so that's kind of a fun fact. And I just adore their family, and I've just I would not be who I am today without this family. So I'm so excited to talk to you and to talk about your motherhood journey. But before we go into all of that, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and family life and where you're located and all that good stuff?
Yes. Well, like you said, my name is Kirsten. I'm married to Luke. We have two beautiful girls named Zoe and Maisie, and we currently live in Riverside, California. Daily life for us is a lot of dance parties. I play a lot of games where I have to rescue a princess from a dungeon.
Oh my gosh.
And it also includes a lot of iced mochas for me.
Ooh, yes. Love it. Now, you have a background in teaching, correct?
I do, yes.
And I know that you have kind of approached, you are homeschooling your girls, right, at the moment?
Well, that's going to start really soon, yes.
Okay, cool. We'll talk about that then too. But
okay.
But I just remember when I first met you, you were teaching, and I'd love to ask you about all of that and then how that's going to kind of play into your journey now with homeschooling. But we'll get to that in a second.
Oh, yeah.
But first,
yes,
I would
totally.
just want to ask you and have you share the story of your journey into motherhood. Were you wanting to have kids? Did you have a plan? How did that all play out for you?
Well, in one word, my journey into motherhood was bittersweet. But I have to give a little bit of a backstory because Luke and I met in March and we were engaged in May and married in August. So I shouldn't have been surprised when we got pregnant 3 months after being married.
Yes.
So it was very unexpected, like I said, bittersweet, but I always wanted kids and I couldn't wait to be a mom. I was very excited, but it was hard. It took some time to get used to the idea. And what was great is Luke was really calm through the whole thing. When we found out, he was like, okay, we got this. We're going to do this. And so that helped kind of ground me, I think, because I was not ready. I was not excited. I was angry for a while. But once we settled and landed, I think it was that moment when we found out we were having a girl that was truly like a little blessing in disguise for me. Because I think that was kind of God's grace through the whole thing. Because deep down inside, I didn't realize how badly I wanted a girl. And I think that was just icing on the cake, made that journey into motherhood a lot easier for me, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then come round 2, how was that, in comparison?
Kid number 2 was planned and was almost exactly perfectly timed. And, a much easier second go round. Yeah. And now we have 2 girls. Yes. And it's awesome.
That's so fun. Awesome. Okay. So what have been or are some of your passions in life? What are you drawn to? What brings you joy in life? And how does being a mom fuel those things?
I actually think that this was kind of hard to define for me because I have passions in life, but I also have things that bring me joy that aren't necessarily passions.
Yeah.
But So
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah.
ask someone else kind of what they see in you, then it's
Mm.
easier to kind of pin down. So I recently asked my husband kind of what he sees as my passions. And so
Mm.
together we kind of came up with a good idea of what those things are. And he was able to give me words to kind of what I already knew.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I think the major thing that comes to mind is this idea of, you know, Jesus and family and meshing those two together and how to mesh them together perfectly. That is definitely a major passion of mine. I also have this passion to dive into the scriptures with other women my age. I recently led a moms group where we were all together and we just prayed for each other and supported each other and unpacked scriptures. And I think that was really fun for me, and I really enjoy doing that. So that's definitely a passion of mine as well. But like you mentioned, I'm a teacher at heart, so I think when I think about real passion, I think teaching is really high on my list. It's a really high priority of mine, and it's when I think about how my kids fuel my passions, I would say that they almost ruined them a little bit, but then they come back full circle. For example, like, well, obviously when I talk about family and meshing Jesus and family together, obviously they fuel that because I'm trying to find the way to teach my kids how to love one another and how to learn who Jesus is, and that's like a major part of our day and how we interact with one another. So that is constantly being fueled by them and their personalities and learning how to interact as a family through that lens. But when I think about teaching, obviously I was just getting my career started when I got pregnant the first time. So, I felt like my dream kind of died a little bit. And I'm so grateful that I was able to quit work and be able to stay home with my kiddos. But it's cool now that I'm going to begin, I have a little kindergartner this year and she's going to begin school, and we're going to enter into that homeschooling adventure. So like I said, my teaching passion has come full circle because now I get to engage with her through that. So that is really cool.
That is so cool. I love that. So what are some of the things that you're kind of unpacking as you transition into being a teacher at home with your daughters? Like, what does that look like? Even practically, some of the things that you're kind of diving into. Because I know I've talked to a couple other homeschool mamas, and I know that there's a lot out there that are kind of diving into that more. So you being a professional teacher at one time, I'm sure has some good advice in that area. So yeah, could you share some of that stuff?
Sure. It's so cool to have one student because I get to put all of my energy into one kiddo and make my classroom the way that I would have wanted, my classroom before. So I think I'm really excited to take everything that I've learned previously and pour it into this one kid. And, starting with kindergarten means we get to have all kinds of fun. And I'm hoping to do a whole lot of just hands-on learning and a lot less of the stuffy worksheet stuff.
Yes.
Can
you be my teacher?
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Yay.
I think one thing I'm really anxious about is, not sure how my own child is going to react to me being their teacher.
Yeah.
And I'm learning how we're going to keep a schedule while staying inside of our home. I'm anxious to see how that's going to go. And I'm looking forward to starting our day off with like maybe playing outside and just running off all of our energy and doing some kind of exploration outside, just exploring nature, and then coming inside and being like, okay, now it's time to do the real work.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. I'm a little nervous, but I'm very, very excited.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so cool. I love it. I think something that popped up I haven't been like, I don't know. I've experienced you teaching in some aspects, but specifically dancing. Hello, people. If you know Kirsten, you know how awesome a dancer she is. So I just wanted to do a little shout out for you there. You're an awesome dancer. And you even taught some of our
Hey,
junior hires at our church a couple times, like for a small group, wasn't it?
I did.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, we did a small group where we danced half the time, and then we
Aw,
did some scripture stuff the rest of the time. It was a
that's
blast.
so cool. I love that. Awesome. Okay, so for staying inspired in the day to day, like what are some of the things practically that you do to stay fresh and to manage your time?
Hmm. You know, I feel as if I'm really good at managing my time.
Mm-hmm.
I like schedule and structure, so I don't have a hard time with that. But when it comes to staying inspired throughout the day, I I honestly felt a little sad thinking I don't know if I'm inspired most
Mm-hmm.
days. I think one thing I can say is when I really um, engage with my kids and I ignore, the grind of life, and I put off the little errands and the little chores and things I have to do throughout the day, and I just really exist with my kiddos, then I find that the days go so fast and we have so much fun, and in turn they kind of inspire me.
Mm.
I mean, if you ever
Yes.
sit and have a conversation with a 5-year-old, they say the funniest things, and
Especially your 5 year
they
old.
yeah, she's quite a character. um, and so it's kind of a cheesy mom answer, but I really do feel like when I'm able to set aside the grind of the day and really engage with my kids, they are the ones that keep me inspired and
Yes.
encourage me to, find new exciting activities to do during the day, and things like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not, a lot of the people that you've interviewed are, you know, building these empires and doing these cool things in their community. And
Mm.
I am not a mompreneur. So I, I'm
Yeah.
not working right now. So it's not like I have any projects to look forward
Yeah.
to or any, things that I'm putting my time toward. So, like I said, sometimes I feel like I'm just doing the daily thing, and being inspired during the day is hard. But one of the things that my husband and I have been wrestling with together is knowing that life is so much more than just the daily day-to-day stuff, and knowing that we are called to something greater, and
Yes.
how we're supposed to live that out each day, and how we're supposed to show our kids that greater calling. And that's something that we're currently wrestling with, trying to figure out how we can really bless those around us, and bless our community, and love each other well, and then in turn show our kids how to do that. So all that to say, we are quite inspired by that idea of doing some sort of community service or being involved blessing people around us. So that idea is inspiring.
Mm.
And my silly kids are inspiring too, but
Oh, I love
we're
that.
we're taking it a day at a time. Yeah.
Yes. I really appreciate that. And actually, you had mentioned something to me before we even, when we were trying to figure out when we could do this interview, just about how you were like, I'm not really doing much. But then you started thinking about how that actually could be something to offer, like this community of people listening. And I loved that
Yes.
perspective of like, a lot of moms don't work, and a lot of the moms listening aren't in that mompreneur stage either. So I think it's really, really
Right.
positive and healthy for us to have, yeah, again, like every stage and every kind of walk, because there's, yeah, a lot of people who can relate to that. And I
Totally.
love that. And actually, I read something recently that really just blew my mind. It was out of Brene Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection. And she was talking about how ordinary does not equal meaningless. And that like
Mm.
struck me so deeply. I think I'm not necessarily like, I'm doing a little bit of work here and there, but for the most part at home with my baby right now, and, doing this podcast on the side. So I very much like to do and to create and, go. And so I think it was important for me to hear and to remember, like, the ordinary days, like the normal is not meaningless. Like, it is not being wasted, even though it feels like it's not impacting or huge or whatever, which I can sometimes fall prey to when I'm on social media, like, oh, my life is boring, like, what am I doing? But that just resonated with me, and I was reminded of that when you were sharing. So yeah, I love that.
Yes. And how many times I can't speak for all the moms, but I think I speak for most moms when I say we all feel like we kind of lose a part of ourselves and our identity when we have kids.
Sure.
And what's cool is if you allow yourself, you will go through ups and downs, and there's ebbs and flows, but your passions are always there. So they'll come back around. And if you allow them, you choose, you prioritize the things that you want to, and eventually you'll be able to have that special time for yourself again,
Yeah, that's so
good. I remember shortly after our first kiddo was born, I think I just shouted at the top of my lungs. I was just frustrated about something, and I was like, I'm never going to work out again, and I'm never going to paint my nails ever again.
No way.
And it's funny because painting my nails, that's never been a priority of mine, but for whatever reason, that's what I wanted to do that day, and my kiddo was keeping me from doing so, and I was frustrated about it. But now, I've learned that that's really low on the priority list, and other things that are priorities have come back around, and I've made time for them. So it's pretty cool.
That's so good. Do I hear a little snuggler?
Yes.
Oh, which one is
There's
that?
a little one.
Maisie?
Maisie.
Oh, Maisie girl. So sweet. Speaking of painting your nails, what are some things that you do to take care of your heart when you're feeling overwhelmed or just needing some time alone?
That's a good one. We have a little local coffee shop near us that has just the most wonderful people working there. And so I just love to go visit them because they're all really sweet, and I love supporting local businesses. So a lot of times I'll just go hang out there, have a cup of coffee, and then, sit on my computer, whatever, surf the web. But a lot of the time, what I love to do is so silly to say out loud, but I love video games.
No way.
And I do.
I didn't know that about you. That's so fascinating.
I do. Yeah. Well, I love this one particular game where I've always grown up creating and building things on the computer. And so there's one particular game where I get to do both, and I started playing it in high school, and I kind of never stopped. And
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So now that's what I do to kind of refresh, and it makes me happy. So that's one of the things that I do.
That's awesome. Okay, so have you experienced mom guilt? And if so, what do you do to overcome it or combat it?
Oh man, mom guilt. Mom guilt it's real and it's hard. And I still experience that today. And it's funny because when I go somewhere, I know that my husband or my grandma is totally capable of watching after my kids, but I think there's something about going away that makes me feel like it's more work for me. Like I have to make sure that there's dinner planned because my husband doesn't cook, so they got to eat something. And I know at the end of the day when he's tucking him into bed that they're going to ask for me. They're going to say that they miss mommy, and so that just breaks my heart. So I still feel guilty sometimes when I'm not around, but I think for me personally, the thing that helps me get over it is just to do it more. Like the more I go out, the more I take time for myself, like the easier it becomes for my kiddos to be alone with dad or whatever. And, everybody always rises to the occasion, and it's great. But I know for me, I just have to do it more, and then it becomes easier.
That's good. Yeah, I was just like thinking about I have a weekend coming up where I'll like my first time away from my little girl and I'm just like stressing about it, but it's not here yet. I don't need to worry. Side note, mom
Mm,
guilt. Anyways,
yeah, I know.
yes, it's crazy, but you're so right as far as like more frequent that kind of thing is and letting them know like this is okay that mom is gone. It's, your world doesn't stop because I'm gone. Like I think that's super healthy and
Hmm.
they do get used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Resilience.
I think it's important. Yes, it's important for the kiddos to have alone time with their dad, and it's important for
Yes.
the dad to have to
Uh-huh.
engage that way, as
Totally.
you know, and it's
Yeah,
good for everybody involved.
that's
And
right.
yeah.
Good point. Well, I like to talk about legacy too. So, like when you hear that word, when you and your husband think about like what will be left to your kids once you guys are gone, like what is it that kind of resonates in your hearts? Like what do you want them to hold on to and to walk out once you guys are gone?
Sure. I feel as if it's a little hard to put into words for me, but I think I'll get my point across.
Yeah.
Um, I, I know how much, Jesus loves us, and I want to pass on that love to my children, and I want them to see that I love them unconditionally, and that I also love other people unconditionally. And I would hope that my tombstone would say something like, she loved unconditionally and was in turn very loved because I did those things.
Yeah.
And so even around our house, one thing that we practice daily is asking each other, like, is the way you're talking to her, is that a loving thing to do? Is so it goes beyond just saying like the nice thing,
Yep.
or being kind.
Yeah.
It's a deeper love.
That's really good.
So that's one thing we practice a lot at home.
All the loves. That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then I like to end with some fun questions. So
Okay.
the first one would be, do you have a favorite product for yourself or for your kids that you're really enjoying that at this time in life?
Oh, one of my favorite things is there are these really cool water bottles that you can get for kiddos I usually get them at the Nordstrom rack.
Okay.
And all the sippy cups and all the water bottles say they don't leak.
Uh,
They don't leak. They're leak proof. But these ones are only like $4 a piece,
okay.
and they don't leak, and they're awesome. And they have
Ooh,
these super cute patterns on them. And I think we have 8 or 10 of them in our drawer currently because
nice.
they pack away easily in the diaper bag, and they have like a little straw that has the little thing that covers it,
Oh,
folds over.
yeah.
Yeah, those are a lifesaver for us.
All right, sweet. I'm gonna have to look those up because Poppy only has one
Yeah.
right now. I'm like, we need another one of these bad boys.
Yeah, I love them.
All right, cool. The last one would be a piece of advice that you would give to a new mom.
Oh my goodness. I think someone told me, I believe it was my mother-in-law, told me, during the middle of like a crazy late night, we're all tired and exhausted, and I'm crying. And she says, you know what? God chose you to be this little baby's parent. He didn't choose anybody else. So you are the perfect parent for this baby, and you are everything that they need. And I think that just resonated with me so hardcore during that time.
Yes.
And so I love to share that with any other mom that might be struggling.
That's so good.
That's my favorite thing to share, because I just think
Yes.
that's so important to remember that yes, stuff is hard and it sucks a lot of the time, but this little person was meant just for your arms, and it's
Yes.
perfect.
Oh, that's so special. Good advice. Kirsten, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and share your
Yes.
story. I'm really honored and excited to share your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. Please share this with a friend if it impacted you in any way, and leave a review on iTunes so other mamas can hear the truth, that they are enough and they are doing their very best. Be sure to catch up on what's happening in the Mommispace community every day on Instagram at Mommispace. And you can email me at mommispace@gmail.com for questions or interview recommendations. All my love to you, Mama. You're amazing. See you next week. Just to say that I'm the one you love. It's so like you to do the best for one, the best for love. It's so like you to do the best for